The man was excited to start his holiday, full of optimism and ready to get some rest in a tropical place. He boarded the plane and took his seat by the window. As the plane took off, he observed the blue sky and the layer of clouds that looked like a cotton blanket. He opened a book and dove into reading. Suddenly, he saw glimpses of something moving across the window pane. At first, he thought it was a bird, but then he realized that birds don't fly at this altitude. He observed the outside for a moment and then went back to reading. The situation repeated, and now he saw with the edge of his eye a shade moving across the plane wing. He sat straight and tried to focus on some unrecognizable shape on the edge of the wing. By the time he regained his sharpness, he saw a man-like creature sitting on the wing. Its hair was waving from the traveling speed, and it was looking forward, kind of enjoying the ride. The man was totally surprised by this view and looked for confirmation among other passengers, but no one seemed to see what he saw. He observed the creature with terror, trying to find an explanation for all this happening. Suddenly, the creature noticed its observer and rushed to the window. It had some rage in its flaming red eyes, and it bumped into the window. The creature emitted a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down the man's spine. The man jumped out of his seat, screaming and trying to escape, but none of the passengers seemed to notice the creature. Instead, they looked at the man with disbelief and tried to calm him down, but he was hard to control. The flight attendants rushed to hold him down along with some other passengers. They were able to push him back into the seat and listen to his story about a creature on a plane's wing. The man tried to convince everybody to believe what he saw, but when they checked outside, there was no sign of any being out there. After a while, everything seemed to go back to normal, and the man was freed from restraints. He calmed down, not seeing any suspicious movement outside the plane, and began to think it was only his hallucinations. He decided to focus only on arriving safely at his destination. His short comfort was interrupted by a horrific scene. The creature reappeared on the wing, tearing apart the engine with its claws, angry, showing pure evil. The engine blew off suddenly with black smoke and sparks. The sound of the engine exploding was deafening, like a bomb going off inside the plane. The man was sitting frozen still, unable to produce any sound. He was pale and terrified. Other passengers noticed the engine explosion and began to panic and scream, but no one seemed to notice the creature. In its rage, the creature started to destroy the second engine. After the second explosion, the very horror started. The plane plummeted down, shaking and gaining speed. People were screaming in fear, some of them sitting quietly in their seats, waiting for the inevitable. The wind howled outside the plane, creating an eerie, otherworldly sound that made the man feel like he was in a nightmare. He remained quiet, maybe still in shock, or maybe resigned. He was observing this abstract happening, waiting until the plane hit the ground. This moment came as a surprise, because it was hard to foretell when the plane would meet the ground. There was only a sound cut off, and then all went black. The sudden silence that followed the sound of the plane crashing was almost more terrifying than the noise itself. The man woke up, a bit sweaty, still sitting in a plane, traveling on vacation. Beside him, there was still a man from Scotland, looking a bit like a cookie monster, with his teeth sticking out, still talking to himself, holding a Rubik's Cube in his hands. The man took a big breath and thought to himself, "Thank God that it was only a dream." But was it really a dream? As he looked around, he noticed that something was off. The passengers were not the same people he saw before. They looked different, almost like they were not human. The man started to panic, realizing that he was not on the same plane anymore. He tried to get up, but he couldn't move. He was paralyzed, unable to do anything. The creature appeared in front of him, its flaming red eyes staring at him with rage. The man tried to scream, but no sound came out of his mouth. The creature started to speak, its voice echoing in the man's head. "You thought you could escape me, but you were wrong. You are mine now, and there is no escape." The sound of the creature's voice in the man's head was like a whisper, but it was so clear and distinct that it felt like it was coming from right behind him. The man realized that he was trapped, and there was no way out. He was stuck in a nightmare that he could never wake up from. The creature started to laugh, its laughter echoing in the man's head, as the plane flew into the darkness, never to be seen again.